Alright, good morning. We are back at my favorite little place, the Field of Dreams, the Fort Irwin Golf Course and driving range. And I have a blast from the past. I have my favorite model. I've got the Wildcat. It's cooled off enough where I'm not afraid to bring her out into the heat. It's been very hot lately and humid. And let's get her in the air. It's a beautiful morning. There's no wind. And yeah, let's get some flying. We got some flying to do, as Slim Pickens would say. We got some flying to do. All right, I launch her at about 50 to 60% throttle. I then normally put her into a pretty good climb out. This time I kind of kept her a little bit low on the horizon, just because it's fun. This model is just fun to fly. And as I've mentioned on the RC Group's threads, the PZ Wildcat thread in particular, every time you put a PZ Wildcat in the air, you have to be cognizant of the fact that you're flying a classic. You really are. They're no longer made. So if you hurt your Wildcat, if you stuff your Wildcat, you may have a hard time finding parts. So really, flying a Parkzone Wildcat in today is really no different, and this is no exaggeration, than Planes of Fame when they put their Wildcat in the air, or rather Yanks Air Museum, or the Palm Springs Air Museum, or any of the other places that have Wildcats. Every time they fly a Wildcat, it's a flying piece of history. And believe it or not, so is this. No longer made. I'm sure the molds exist somewhere, but it's just a beautiful little model, don't you think? Let's pull her up into a loop. Let's pull her on up into a big old loop. Let her flatten her out a little bit. Ah, I hooked it. Ha! Hooked it. All right, I'm gonna have to make amends. While we're in the neighborhood, since we're gonna be doing some light aerobatics, let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about that. Okay, those who know me from the RC groups and from my channel, we'll do another loop and we're not gonna hook it. Okay, a hook. Okay, you see how she flattened out on the bottom there? That's a good loop. Loop, by definition, should start and stop at the same altitude and the same direction. It should remain circular throughout the maneuver. That, by definition, was a good loop. Okay? Circular, when viewed from the side, started and stopped at the same altitude, started and stopped at roughly the same direction. I don't have a compass, so I can't tell whether we're off a few degrees or not. It looked pretty good to me. Now, let me show you a hook. A hook is when at the bottom of the loop, you don't get off the elevator fast enough. Okay, we'll show you a loop or a hook. So we're gonna pull her up, and I'm gonna hold elevator too long. Whoa, see that? That's exaggerated. I exaggerated that on purpose so you can see that, but any upward movement from the horizontal at the base of the loop when finishing is a hook. So now you know. And I'm telling you, knowledge is a good thing. Okay, so it's been a while since I've flown this model. Reasons being, there's been a lot going on. It's been very hot, and quite frankly, I'm trying to take care of my models. I know you're being silly, but no, I'm trying to take care of my models, and when it's just too darn hot, I don't like flying them. There's a nice aileron roll / victory roll. World War II aircraft did not roll axially, so there's all these modern nouveau dudes out there flying, and that's great. New blood, all that kind of cool stuff in the hobby. Got it, great. But let's get one thing straight. World War II aircraft did not roll in an axial fashion. They started their rolls more often than not by pitching their nose up ever so slightly. And I kind of skittered it around that term because I want to show you again. You pitch their nose up ever so slightly and then roll on over. Then what happens is, as the aircraft is inverted over the top, and notice I'm finishing down a little bit. I'm finishing down a little bit. As the aircraft's inverted over the top, she should be she should be parallel with the horizontal. In other words, the aircraft should be basically level as she's inverted over the top, and then as she continues the roll to wings level on the bottom, she should start to acquire a slightly nose down attitude. So I know all of that makes sense because I've really explained it Barney style, okay? So there's no way you can't get that. But anyways, let's do a reverse half Cuban. So I've shown a loop, I've shown a roll. Now we're gonna put them both together. That's a reverse half Cuban, and that's a pretty darn good reverse half Cuban, if I do say so myself. So what is that maneuver? That maneuver is a combination of a loop with a roll thrown into it. Okay, it was a maneuver, as all aerobatic maneuvers were initially devised during World War I, as a way to get an enemy off your tail or perhaps give him a maneuver that maybe he wasn't tracking. So what do? You pull up the up line, you roll to the inverted on the up line, and then you begin to back the throttle off and let the aircraft drop off over the top ever so slightly, making a loop on the back side, and also being careful not to hook. Same things apply on a reverse half Cuban. So let's show this again in real time while we're talking through it. Okay, so we build speed, we pull her on the up line, we invert, we back the throttle off ever so slightly while simultaneously pulling back on the elevator, in other words, giving a little bit of up elevator, and we come down and we don't hook. I'm going about 50% throttle on my down line. I don't chop the throttle at all, because if you do that, you're going to flatten out your loop on the end, and it's not going to be a true loop. Let's bring her in for a landing here. We're going to go wings level, and we're going to bring her in. So you got to really be careful on your throttle management on the back side. Okay, there's no wind, so actually I really don't like that approach, so we're going to get the wave off from the LSO. We're going to go around, we're going to do it again. I'm going to talk about my approach, how I manage my approach, because there's a lot of talk, and it's all just that, it's talk. But it's theory, it's technique, it's procedure. There's a lot going on here, but what we're going to do is we're going to manage our rate of descent using both the throttle and the elevator. There are those who say that the elevator controls your speed and your throttle controls your altitude, and yeah, to a certain extent that's true, but the biggest thing is setting up, and we're going to manage it with both throttle and elevator is what I'm doing. Okay, and now we're going to bring her on in, we're going to float her on in, and I don't think it gets any better than that. I really don't. But I was managing my speed, my attitude, everything with both sticks. So if you could hear it, you would have heard or seen I was working the throttle between about 30 and 40% while simultaneously kind of playing with this over here, just like this, because I want to keep those wings level. I want to control my rate of descent. I want to control my attitude. So I'm doing everything. But remember, basics. This controls roll. This controls pitch. This controls yaw. And of course, this little guy gives you thrust. Put it all together, you got one sweet flying plane. PZ has right here, or had. In any event, hope you had a great time. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the flying. And happy landings to all of you. Thanks for watching.